He's Jim Stewart, I'm Rick Collins, and this is Off the Bench. Today we're going to be having an NBA weekend review. We've got NFL weekend preview. We've got Cowboys versus Eagles Sunday night, a big game. Reviewing Thursday night football. Last night was not quite what we expected. And then we have also a quick review of FISD. Last night we had Wakeland and Lone Star playing. Wakeland took a loss to Prosper. Lone Star got a win against the Colony, so Lone Star next looks at either Lovejoy or Sulphur Springs, depending on what happens tonight. Good for Lone Star. It's unfortunate
Lone Star
Wakeland's
dominated.
Out. Yes, and they've done what they've been doing the entire season, and I just like I talked with Matt Winston.
Stifling defense, balanced offense.
They keep doing it the rest of the season. It's going to be hard for somebody to beat them.
Yep. But you know what? I think it is a solid win. It is a statement win, even though it is a local team. Local as in right outside of the FISD, district boundaries.
In terms of the Colony, yes.
In terms of the Colony. We are going to be watching a little bit more and get a little bit more nervous as they start going deeper into the playoffs and playing some of these bigger,
they've still got
Aledo
looming large on that playoff bracket. So that once they get there, hopefully they will. That'll be an exciting matchup. Let's get into the Thursday night football NFL game, though. It was not what I predicted or what you predicted.
It wasn't as exciting as the jerseys that they were wearing last night.
The jerseys actually were pretty. I actually liked the contrast between the baby blue Tennessee Titans jerseys.
You mean the Houston Oilers jerseys?
Yeah, they looked a lot like the Houston Oilers color jerseys from back in the day.
And the all black.
And the all black with the yellow stripes on the Pittsburgh Steelers looked really cool, actually.
Tell you what, it's better than their throwback jerseys. That is for sure.
Yes, and especially the throwback helmets. I really like the idea of having these different jerseys, just not Thursday night, because I think we both agree we're done with Thursday night.
There's just too many surprises. They don't. It's turning into a circus now. Thursday night, it's like, well different camera angle, different jerseys. Let's just try to distract the people on the horrible games.
And the fact that they're watching NFL football on a Thursday night and they've got Friday the next day. Thursday night, and a lot of people are talking about it. We are not the only people talking about this. Even the NFL themselves is talking about whether or not to continue playing
Well,
Thursday
not the
night.
NFL. NBC is.
Yes.
NBC is. The NFL's never going to get rid of Thursday night football.
Well, the NFL has brought it up because they've been forced to bring it up by the NFLPA.
But as long as that puts revenue in their pocket, they're never going to stop it.
It's kind of like, they get some bills in front of Congress occasionally that everybody's like, we're not going to do this, but we have to bring it up because otherwise the people of the United States of America will be like, well, y'all are just ignoring us now.
Well, what they've noticed is outside of all the off-field and pre-game drama that's been going on that's been sort of affecting the ratings, what they have noticed is there's also a drop in the ratings just because people are starting to get fatigue, football fatigue. Think about it. You have Thursday night for not only high school, but then you have NFL. Thursday night football. Then you have Friday, which is high school. Then you have Saturday. Then you have Sunday and then Monday.
Yeah.
What's happened now is because of Thursday and because of Monday and because of they're shipping these teams all over the country,
or around the world, they're not getting these games. Like it used to be, you would show up on a Sunday and from noon to like 7 o'clock, it was constant games. There's 3 or 4 or 5 games going on all over on all these different channels. Now, if you go on Sunday, there's maybe 2 games on. Yeah.
And they're usually, starting at noon. If you don't have the NFL Sunday
ticket. There's a couple of times, if the Cowboys are playing a later game, there aren't any games on. There's nothing on because the schedule and CBS and Fox just aren't carrying a game. There might be 1 game on at noon, and it's a terrible game, and you're sitting there on your couch ready to watch some football, and you got 1 crappy game that ends up being a 41-0 blowout, and you're sitting there eating your chips thinking, man, I could have actually done something with this time.
The other side of the coin, and the reason why college football has been so successful this year, is you can watch every game. Every game is visible.
Yeah.
In the pros, they're almost feeling like if it's not considered a marquee matchup, it's on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So, like half the games in the NFL, you aren't able to watch unless you are someone who
you have to have
NFL Sunday
ticket, and that's only available on DirecTV. If you don't have DirecTV, you don't get NFL Sunday
Ticket.
Ticket.
The best you get is NFL Network. The NFL Network, where they just sort of have a ticker on the side and they're talking about the games
in NFL Red Zone, which you have to pay extra for, which will give you basically whenever any of the teams are in the red zone, which that's why it's named.
But what's happening now is it seems like the NFL has
channel.
Yeah, and the NFL has decided to go with the model that the newspapers have gone, where it's a subscription-based model.
Yeah.
We'll give you a little bit of tidbits on here, but if you want to watch and read the rest of this article, you have to be a subscriber.
Well, yeah, they're buying into fantasy football. They're saying, okay, there are so many people that want to watch all the games because they're in fantasy football. They want to see how their players are doing.
We'll make more money off.
We'll make them more money off of that because we're going to make them pay to see all those games. Whereas, Fox, typically you can get, with a normal sports channel package, you can get all of the soccer games, all of the, college football games, all of everything, because they have so many channels where they have different games going on in each channel, different areas of the United States. You have Fox Sports Southwest, Fox Sports Atlantic, Fox Sports Pacific Northwest. So you can watch it all. With the NFL, they're saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to. You go to our site, watch our games, you pay us.
Well, we didn't have to pay to watch the Game of Fours last night.
No.
Because Mariota threw 4 picks.
Roethlisberger, 4 touchdowns. And that was the difference in the game.
The Steelers had 40 points. And that was the game. To be honest, the game wasn't that exciting if there wasn't for the turnovers.
The first quarter and a half was pretty good. I saw some tackling. I saw some defense.
And that cool new angle was kind of interesting.
Some good runs. And the new angle, the Madden angle, was fun to watch. But
for about a quarter.
After about a quarter and a half, it went downhill quickly for Tennessee. And Pittsburgh was just methodically moving the ball down the field and scoring every possession. Tennessee cannot turn the ball over if they want to win games.
Yeah, and if they want to make the playoffs, Mariota cannot continue, like you said,
to throw interceptions.
Throw interceptions. But they've also got to make a bigger effort to get the running game going.
Yes.
And if that means
they have great runners.
Yeah, if that means feeding them until those guys pass out, you do it. Because what is happening is now you're asking Mariota to do something he's not used to doing since he was in Oregon, which is throw the ball all the time.
Yeah.
He's not that kind of quarterback. He's a franchise game manager.
Well, yeah, a lot of his passes look like floating ducks. I was surprised they were completed. His receivers made a lot of plays for him. He still looks nervous. He's not 100% clearly. Once he gets to 100%, hopefully this nervousness will back off.
All right, so when we get back, we'll be talking a little bit about Cowboys-Eagles, which...
biggest game of the weekend.
Yes, it is. Next.
We're so excited to invite you to our Stacy Furniture Anniversary Sale.
Save today on Stacy's outstanding selection, up to 50% off select items throughout the store.
Now's the time to buy that new bedroom, living room, or dining room suit. You can't beat these prices anywhere.
Name brands like Bernhard, Hooker, Universal, and Sherrill, all on sale today.
It's Stacy's Anniversary Sale only happens once a year.
Shop Stacy's today or visit us online at stacyfurniture.com.
Remember, when you're shopping at Stacy's, you're shopping with family.
Dallas Cowboys had the biggest matchup of the year for them tonight. Not tonight. I want to get ahead of myself. Sunday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a game they have to win if they expect to have any chance of this division. And for me, any chance of the playoffs. I think they have a huge month ahead. They're going to be a month and a half without Ezekiel Elliott.
And it's a hard month and a half.
They should get Sean back at some point, Sean Lee, during that time period.
Tyron, anybody?
Tyron, don't know if he's going to be in, don't know if he's going to be out, but he's certainly not healthy. But this next month, when you have big key injuries, that's when the rubber meets the road. Can they fill in with the backups? They couldn't last week against Atlanta.
Yes.
That's going to be a huge problem against Philadelphia because Philadelphia's offense is way better than Atlanta Falcons' offense right now.
And they have one of the best defense. That's why I'm thinking everybody has been saying that this could be the best matchup of the weekend. I don't agree with that at all. I think it's going to be just like Titans-Steelers without the turnover. The Cowboys are really going to...
A lot of 3-and-outs?
No, yeah, a lot of 3-and-outs by the Cowboys. They're going to attempt to run the ball. the defense for the
Philadelphia Eagles had the best run defense in the NFL.
And they're going to put it on Dak again to throw the ball. And we showed against the Falcons that he is not the best at that, especially when he has pressure in his face.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite know what to do in the pocket. I think he hasn't had that kind of pressure enough in his career. Usually that's what rookies go through in their first year. That's why they struggle.
Right.
They learn the pocket presence. And he didn't have to do that because all he had to do was hand it to Zeke the entire time. And when they were biting on Zeke, he'd throw the ball. Right now, he's going to get pressure constantly in his face. He doesn't know. You could see it in the games when he has the ball, and the hairs on the back of his head back of his neck go up, and saying someone's coming, someone's coming. And you watch him, and it's like he doesn't know to step forward or to run. He sort of takes a second to figure out what he wants to do, and by that split second of decision, he gets hit.
Well, not only that, but the fact that Chaz Green was just a rotating door last weekend, if that happens again, they're in real big trouble.
I agree, but you know what? They have to make adjustments. It's not like it just happened in the second half. They didn't have time to make adjustments. Halftime, they should, we're going to bootleg you a lot. You need to step up. We're going to put Jason Witten on that side. Yeah. Because guess what?
For Brett Favre, blocked more on him.
With Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, the franchise is there. If they were having that problem, guess what they do? They bring in 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
And they just run the ball, or they try to make it that those 2 outside receivers would be able to do something, and they put 2 guys on.
Well, and you've got Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden, who are both good blockers as running backs. So I don't understand why you didn't chip block at all. Jason Witten's a great blocker as a tight end. You didn't chip at all. You didn't give him enough help.
You didn't put a tight end over there.
No, they did not help him at all. And I felt like this was kind of that Jason Garrett next man up thing, right? I mean, Shereen Williams talked about this, unifyfrisco.com. You can read about what she said. It's not next man up. They've got to find a way to stop defenses from putting so much pressure on Dak. They can't just say, well, Tyron did it, so you can go do it. No, Chaz Green is not Tyron Smith.
Yeah, they need to be able to scheme and adjust the gameplay. Not just, hey, now your left tackle, go do what Tyron Smith said, just like you made a point of. They need to go, okay, Green is having a lot of problems right now. How do we solve that? Do we, like I said, do we bootleg Dak? Do we get him to throw quicker? Do we throw short slants? Do we put the ball into the running back's hands? Which they tried that, didn't they?
Yeah, and it's not going to work this weekend either.
So guess what? Do you put another offensive lineman in? Instead of putting a tight end, you put another offensive line in at the tight end position, and you double team whatever threat is happening on that left side. I know Green can't do it alone, but 2 offensive linemen should be able to take on 1 defensive end. Outside of that, though, the Eagles, they have no problems offensively.
No.
They've got probably one of the most dominant run games in the league. They have a great offensive line. Maybe not as good as the Cowboys were last year, but they've got a good offensive line. Yes. But the second point that needs to be made that not a lot of people are making is, that good is,
have been awesome this year.
But though, that line has been good, but when it isn't, Wentz does what he needs to do.
He makes plays. He's very Roethlisberger-esque.
Yeah, he knows how to. He has that decision making that Dak doesn't have right now.
That sixth sense of knowing.
Yeah. Here comes somebody on bootlegging or on spinning.
And he has the strength to get out of tackles too.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is? He's not as big as Dak. Dak has that strength too. He just doesn't have that split second deciding what he's going to do.
He doesn't have the clock in his head to make that decision. I think we're going to see 2 quarterbacks who. We looked at the numbers, very comparable numbers over the course of a year and a half. And I think the problem is that Dak was great early on. Carson Wentz is now getting better and better every week. He's getting stronger. And Wentz struggled his rookie year. So this is a make or break game. The Eagles win this, they basically win the division. Because the Cowboys are going to be now.
And the Redskins aren't going to do it.
They're going to be a game behind in terms of games against Philadelphia, plus the fact that they're going to be 5 games back, period. So the Cowboys have to win this game. And I don't see how they're going to do it. We've had people in our production team say, the Cowboys are going to win this game. I think about it, I'm like, okay, well, let me think about how they could win this game.
Nope.
I just don't see it. I don't understand what are the areas where the Cowboys are better than this Philadelphia Eagles team, and right now I just don't see it.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of turnovers, other mistakes from the Eagles, and it's going to take some huge plays from the Cowboys because I just don't see it right now. The way the Cowboys are playing, they're not going to win this game.
I look at it this way. Dak is not Tony Romo. As much as everybody goes, we need to move on from Tony, we still have to look back. Tony was that guy who, even though he threw a lot of picks and he didn't win a lot of games, he could shoulder the load. He could work with a bad offensive line. He was unbelievably aware of what was going on around him.
Yeah.
Dak doesn't have that yet. And it's because Tony and Troy Aikman and all those guys, their first year playing, got the crap beat out of them to the point where that clock sped up.
Yeah.
And then they understood how to make those adjustments.
Growing experience for Dak. And
yes.
I think it's not really a bad time for it to happen, honestly. With Zeke going to be out, it's not a terrible time for him to have a learning experience. And he's got experience running backs back there. If Jason Garrett can figure out how to block with those running backs, with the tight ends that the Cowboys have that are great blockers, I think he'll be okay. He'll survive the season.
Yeah, you know what? And I know this is going to sound weird, I want to see him have a 4-pick game.
Yeah.
I want to see him have 10 interceptions by the end of the year. And the reason why is he needs to start forcing the ball down the field and learning what he needs to do to make that successful. Right now, he's so conservative. He's scared to throw the ball down the field because of picks. Let him have that growth period.
Yeah.
But coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit more about a mediocre NFL weekend next.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes. And way over here, busy moms. No?
This looks like another week of mediocre matchups when it comes to the NFL. Jaguars, Browns finishing up, Falcons, Seahawks. I'm not really excited about any of these games, but there is one bit of hope. There is one bit of nougaty goodness inside this horrible, disgusting melted shell of whatever it is.
It's not chocolate.
It's not
chocolate. If it was chocolate, it'd be delicious.
Yes. It is the Mexico City matchup. Patriots, Raiders. It's become sort of a staple. They get to go into what is more of a soccer environment, chants, singing.
The hooligans.
The game is way different because they're in a 7,000 feet above sea level arena.
Yeah. Very Mile High-esque.
No, they're 3,000 feet above Mile High.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in terms of the fact that they're in an elevated atmosphere, it's going to be hard to
Punters are going to have a great day.
Yes.
Kickers are going to have a great day. No one else is going to have
Wide
fun.
receivers are all going to be. Give me a minute.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Raiders are starting to come back.
Yeah.
You know,
Derek Carr, now that he's healthy.
Marshawn should have a good game because he's always playing and training with that mask, which I don't think it does anything.
No.
But, you know, it's fun to think about that. I'm really excited. Patriots, if they are going to be that, no one can say no to the Patriots, no one can, leave out the Patriots always have a shot. This is their chance to make that statement.
Yeah.
We're getting to the end of the season.
Yep.
They need to start having these wins that are statement pieces, right? They got to go, this is a game, this is a game, this is a game. We can do this late in the season. We're going to be able to do that in the playoffs. Raiders, they need to try to take over this division. You remember the Chiefs
have been slipping.
And the Denver Broncos have slipped past.
The Denver Broncos are, they're basically gone now.
The Raiders have a chance to win that division.
Yep.
And if they win it, I think it could be an exciting matchup on whoever they play because the run game's becoming a little bit more dominant, like they were at the beginning of the year. Derek Carr. Mm-hmm.
You got it right this time. I know.
They're both D's. Dang their parents. Why'd they do it with such, like names? But Derek Carr coming back from injury the first couple weeks, hesitant a little bit, but that's normal coming back.
He's cleared it up. He looks much further along than Mariota does right now, and I think part of that is the fact that Mariota depends on his legs a lot more than Derek Carr does. Derek Carr looks very comfortable in the pocket, and this Oakland Raiders team is very explosive. I think the concern for Oakland is going to be on the defensive side. Their defense has not been anywhere near as good as we thought they would be coming into the season. They had what I thought would be the defensive MVP of the year in Khalil Mack, and he hasn't really shown up like everybody thought he would. And this defense has not gelled as much as everybody thought they would after last year. They had showed a lot of promise last year. I think they're going to find that the Patriots are going to be the biggest challenge they're going to face this year, because this Patriots offense, the way they move the ball around, the different setups that they run in, different formations. Oakland has a huge challenge ahead of them, and this is a good test to see where they are in terms of the rankings of the guys in the AFC who look clear. It's starting to clear up who are the playoff teams and who aren't. This is a potential matchup in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is to see where they're at.
Yes, it's a test for both teams.
I don't know that they're ready for the Patriots.
No. And then you look at the rest of the schedule. The rest of the schedule is, like I said, mediocre at best. They could have some exciting games, but off the bat you have Jaguars, Browns. That sounds like a snoozer, because the Jaguars, the way they've been playing, they're one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, but nobody wants to watch them because they're making all their plays on defense. Bortles hasn't been that great. Their running game since Fournette's been out hasn't been that great. He should be back. He's questionable right now. But even when he's not 100% healthy and playing, he hasn't been that great.
So I'm doing this based on times that these games are. So the next game is Buccaneers, Dolphins.
Yeah,
doesn't that just sound exciting? That's about as exciting as Jay Cutler gets in a press conference.
Unless you live in Florida, I guess, and you think this is a rivalry game of some sort. Other than that, I mean, another snoozer at noon. The noon games aren't that promising. The most promising noon game to me is the Ravens and Packers. Not because either of those offenses are so great.
But it's because both teams are so mediocre.
Both teams are so mediocre that it might be a fairly even game and work out well for the Ravens because the Green Bay Packers are starting Hundley again, Brett Hundley. And I'm not convinced after last week that he's the answer for the rest of this year.
No one's convinced.
And the Ravens need a boost to get into the playoffs. And right now they're in trouble.
Then you have an NFC North matchup in the Lions and the Bears.
Normally you would think that'd be a great matchup, but right now neither of those teams are playing all that well.
I'll just throw this out there. Lions are going to win probably by 10 plus points.
But
double
it won't be
digits.
exciting.
Won't be exciting.
No.
Then you've got Rams, Vikings. That could be exciting.
Could be exciting.
Depending on if both run games and both defenses get going. But I've really, really liked the way that Goff has been playing. He's a beautiful downfield thrower. He's very accurate.
This would be a challenge for him. This Minnesota Vikings defense is good.
Then let me just, and I'll be looking off camera. I just want to make sure that we get the rest in. I'm going to name them very quickly. Then you've got Cardinals, Texans, snore. You've got Chiefs, Giants, double snore. You've got
Giants might actually get another win. We'll see.
I bet not the Chiefs. Chiefs will kill them.
They haven't been great.
Redskins, Saints. That could be good. Could be good.
Could be good.
Then there's Bills, Chargers.
Bengals,
Broncos. Then you got Eagles, Cowboys, and the one that you think has been, you like the matchup of the week.
I like the Monday matchup, and we'll talk more about that on Monday morning. But yes, the Falcons and Seahawks. I actually think the Falcons are playing at their best right now, especially on defense. That game against the Cowboys, I think, showed that they're still capable of making the playoffs. Seattle Seahawks obviously have played really well so far this year. They still have a chance at the playoffs as well. So I think that Monday night matchup won't be bad. We'll talk more about it on Monday and see where they are health-wise, because they're definitely concerned. Sherman's out. So Seattle is not as good a defensive team maybe going into this game as we would think based on this season.
And what's not going to be a snore is the next segment. There are some interesting storylines coming out of college football next. This weekend does not have as many of the matchups that we've seen the last couple weeks when it comes to college football and the madness that has been 2017. But there are some possible upsets. A lot of these teams that are now considered in the top 5 have matchups that could be trap games.
Yes.
Trap games is
Trap game weekend.
That's the word of the weekend. Yay! It's
I've been using it a lot this last week.
Trap games is going to be really, really fun this weekend. You're either going to have blowouts and you're going to be, if you're a fan of the team, going, look, yeah, they're really good.
Look,
or
I told you about Wisconsin.
Yeah, or it's going to be like, what happened? And now, Clemson's out of the playoffs.
Slept through it and then realize that Wisconsin loses by 2 to Michigan this weekend, and they're out of the playoff picture.
But outside of trap games, I think there are some good storylines swirling around the NCAA. First one is Alabama players have been valued at $500,000 per player, and the only way I break down how they get these numbers is they take the value of the team that year or the revenue they generate and they break it down by how many players they have.
Yeah, and
that's the only way, right?
So obviously, you're not going to say that the Alabama punter is near the value of, let's say, the starting quarterback.
That's why they said players.
And so what they're saying is just per player. And Alabama, this is a hard topic to think about because you say, okay, they're worth $500,000, but if they were playing without the promotion of the game, if they were playing on a YMCA field and not in these beautiful, huge stadiums, it's chicken and the egg, right? Like the program is putting money into the players so that they have an opportunity to play better and make more money, right? So there's a little bit chicken and egg. The other issue that I have with
I don't think it's a value of the individual players. I think it's a value of the team and the organization and the school broken down by the amount of players.
Well, but what I'm saying is when you start breaking it down by player, now you're thinking, oh, we should be paying these players $500,000.
No.
I think you have to stop the conversation before that happens because of what I just said. Also, I think there's an issue with you start doing this and you start paying the players some percentage of that. Now, what happens when you go to recruit somebody?
But that's not the really bad part.
Why would you ever go to University of Houston? Why would you ever go to Rice? Why would you ever go to Mississippi State when you could go and make way more money at a Texas?
But that's not the real problem of the paying of the players. The real problem ends up being, what does the women's gymnastic team make? What does the men's tennis team make? What does the rowing team make?
Yep.
What does women's lacrosse make? Because they're going to go, it would either be either sexist or entitlement that the other male sports will say they're entitled by saying, oh, hey, you're making $400 a year because that's what you're worth, when they're making $500 or $600 or $10,000 a year because that's what they're worth.
Yeah.
Because that's how much they bring in. They'll be like, but I'm a rower.
I don't get to play on the football team.
Yeah, I'm a rower. No one comes and watches rowing. That's not my fault.
Right.
But if you break down, like you said, the biggest teams, the first one is Texas with 666,000.
It's not.
I want your soul.
Hook 'em, baby, hook 'em.
It's 666. That's why they've been so bad this year. They made a deal with the devil, yes,
and it's only coming back in revenue. It's not coming back in
when they signed the Longhorn Network, that was signing a deal with the devil. Now the devil's will do.
But look at some of the other teams on here. I think Michigan, Tennessee's the most interesting to me because
Tennessee, their fans are
traditionally they've had a great fan base, and traditionally they've had a great football program, great basketball program, everything else, right? Mm-hmm. Right now is not good for their sports programs, other than women's basketball. Things in their sports program are not great.
And even their girls basketball hasn't been the same since Pat passed.
Yes, and I don't know that these numbers ever change because it's all based on the revenue brought in by fans. And the fan base really, you just got to look at
how ravenous the fans are. To be honest, Texas,
it takes a death penalty for the fan base to disappear.
Yeah, that Texas number is very, 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 very skewed. Because I hate to say it, Texas fans aren't the biggest fans in the world. What that number is based on the Longhorn Network, and that money come in is probably 20 to 30% of that number. But Alabama, crazy fans. Michigan, crazy fans. Tennessee, crazy fans. Notre Dame, crazy fans.
Yes.
LSU, crazy fans. Georgia, crazy fans. Oklahoma, probably a little bit more crazy than Texas. But they're around the same.
Yeah, I would say it's about I agree with you. I think.
But then the next one makes no sense. Ohio State, those people are nuts.
Yeah, Ohio State has.
They should, if it was going by nutness.
I lived up there for 4 years, and I was so sick of Ohio State because it's all they talk about, Ohio State football, 100% of the time on their sports radio.
Okay, so we broke down this thing and what we figured out what the real situation was with this money. So now we're going to break down some of these matchups coming up this weekend.
Two big matchups, really. We have a draft matchup, Darnold against Rosen, which I think is really interesting to see who is the better quarterback. Who is the guy coming into the season, right? Everybody thought these were the top two quarterbacks. Who is the best of the two?
Rosen is a smooth operator. He looks fluid. He doesn't look like he makes any unnecessary moves or unnecessary decisions. Doesn't mean they're the right decision, but when he makes that decision, it never seems like he's like, oh, that guy's open. Yeah. It's always like, oh, I knew that guy was open the whole time. Yeah. There you go. Darnold, on the other hand, reminds me of a clumsier, he's more athletic, but his decision-making skills looks like a little bit more hyperactive Peyton Manning. Okay. Remember how Peyton Manning used to jump all over the place? Yeah. He looks that way. He's a little bit more clumsy when it comes to the way he looks like he makes his decisions.
The physical tools are all there, but maybe up here it's not quite as good as
we've
Rosen
seen
is
down
right
the stretch. He's thrown a lot of interceptions. And that is not based on his skills. That's based on his.
And then quickly, the other matchup this weekend that we have to watch is Michigan against Wisconsin. Wisconsin obviously still with a shot of getting into the college football playoff bracket. They have to win this game. This is one of the trap games we talked about. Michigan with a chance to upset Wisconsin.
You can never take out of a game Jim Harbaugh and his influence over those teams. He gets these teams so amped that even if he was ranked 131st in the league or the rankings, he still could walk into the big house. He still could walk into the horseshoe. He still could walk into Alabama and possibly win because he can get them to run through a brick door or even a brick wall, metal door, whatever you want to say.
What that would look like.
Well, because it's really hard to go through a brick door.
I would imagine. I don't know how you get the doorknob on there. You got to get cement screws and everything.
Yeah. So what is interesting is I think that could be a huge trap game. I think this will be Wisconsin's biggest test so far this year.
Until if they win past this and get to the championship game, for sure.
All right, so coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit NBA. And with that said, we're going to go there next.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? But now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Here at Unified Network, we only use the smoothest transitions. Isn't that right, Jim?
Hey, I enter a brick door just like every other man.
Man, I don't know how you get here to work on time every day if you have to go through a brick door. At least mine are just walls.
We're going to review a little bit of what happened this week. We're not going to, in the NBA, we're not going to talk scores. We're going to talk storylines. One of them is Embiid had a massive monster game this week. I've got to read these stats, so I know my eye's going to be a little off the camera because they're so crazy. He had 46 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists for a center, and 7 blocks. He had a plus 19 on the day.
He almost had a quadruple double.
Has that ever happened?
It has, but it is very rare, and it's usually turnovers and not either assists or blocks.
I mean, matching 19 points with what Ben Simmons is doing, he almost had a triple-double. He had 18, 10, and 9. This team, it looks like
they're coming together a lot faster than we thought they would.
It looks like everybody else who isn't the Golden State Warriors need to take the 76ers path. Just suck it up for 2, 3, 4 years.
You hear that, Mavericks? You hear that, Mark Cuban?
Yeah, gather the talent, get the first-round picks, and then just go, oh, they're all hurt.
Yes.
And then bring them all in.
Baby. Red shirt. Take a book out of college football. Red shirt these kids.
But that's what it seems like has happened. Ball had a negative 18 against Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons destroyed him.
Yeah, it was ugly.
It wasn't even fair.
Ball actually got benched for the last 10 minutes of the game because of how bad his play was. I mean, his passing rebounding is there, but he is really struggling to shoot. His shot has to change. I can't think of anything else really to say.
We've had this talk before, over and over. The real question is, and I'm going to lay this to you, and now I'm not saying that
I liked my question. I didn't know that wasn't the real question, though.
Yeah, the real question is Embiid the most talented, not the best, the most talented center of all time? I'm not saying the best center.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Whoa!
I mean, how many centers can shoot threes?
Yeah.
Mid-range, dunk, rebounds, passing, and blocks. How many have you ever seen that had that? Let's take into account who we all think is probably the best center of all time, Shaquille O'Neal, right? So we'll take into account that.
Okay.
Who would you put in?
Oh, well, I might put Wilt Chamberlain there.
But the problem is Wilt Chamberlain would not score the same points in today's game because
we could argue that about all the historical players.
But he was a 7-foot guy playing against guys that were 6'8". In a time where dunking was everything.
All right.
But then what did he do other than score?
What do you want him to do? He can't prove himself outside of that. He can't come back at 80 years old.
I guess that's the same thing as someone arguing that Jim Brown isn't the greatest player of all time.
Exactly.
All right. I'll grant you that. But in 2000...
Babe Ruth in baseball, right?
I've got to, again.
How would Babe Ruth do now?
Again, I've got to read the stats because I don't want to get this wrong. So
let me read them with you.
Where Shaq's greatest games, the top 2 games, was March 6, 2000 versus the LA
I remember that one.
So he had 61 points, a career high. He also had,
23 rebounds.
23 rebounds, and he had I didn't put them all in there, right?
No, 13 of 22 that's pretty good for Shaq.
But those are all dunks.
No, free throws.
Oh, free throws.
13 of 22 is actually pretty good for him because he was one of the worst free throw shooters of all time.
And he had 6 blocks.
That's the thing is Shaq was not a great shooter.
No.
He's a great scorer, great dunker, great around the rim, not a great shooter.
Okay,
Embiid can shoot, and I agree with you to that point is that his shooting is what makes him stand out from other NBA centers.
All right, so here's this is Shaq's what they consider Shaq's greatest game ever. So he had 28 rebounds, 24 points, and 15 block shots.
Against the Nets in 1993. That was back in his heyday. 2000 wasn't even his heyday. That was closer to the end of his career. The original Shaq was unbelievable. And I know a lot of people who are watching this probably don't remember 1993, but you do. His explosiveness to the basket was unbelievable. You couldn't believe that a guy that was 7'1", 7'2", could run and jump like he could. It was like watching a bigger version of LeBron. It was unbelievable.
I remember watching
when he got to the Lakers and they won those championships. He was nowhere near what he was when he was with the Magic.
I remember he went and played on one of the Olympic teams. It was in an all-star game. And he was playing during practice, he was playing one-on-one with Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan was, D'ing him up on almost the three-point line. And Shaq has back to him, and he just, like you said, he did a spin move on Jordan. Jordan was left at the three-point line, and Shaq just decided to walk up and dunk the basketball. He was so explosive. Embiid is not that explosive.
No.
Embiid, I'm saying not physical skills, but just talent.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've seen a guy who can almost get a quadruple double.
The closest right now is probably Karl-Anthony Towns with Minnesota, but he doesn't get the freedom of play that Embiid does in Philadelphia. And I think
but his Towns a three-point shooter and a passer?
He's also struggled not having a guy like Ben Simmons. Now now that Anthony Wiggins is starting to come along, you got Jimmy Butler. I think Karl Anthony Towns will start standing out more, but he's never going to get the kind of numbers that Embiid gets. Embiid is incredible. I don't know what else to say, but you look at him, and he's incredible. Then you look, and he's got Ben Simmons on the same team. And Ben Simmons right now looks like LeBron light. I can't believe the numbers he's putting up.
I said that the other day. I said he's not as big as LeBron physically.
Yeah.
He's taller.
Yes.
And he doesn't have the shooting ability. His skill set is
there.
But the problem is, if you're playing, and he is considered a guard, if you look it up, he's considered a guard statistically.
We'll agree to disagree for the rest of our lives.
At 6'10", he can see over everybody. How can you block? How can you put a point guard on him and block him? And if you have a power forward come out on him, out past the three-point line, he's going to beat him.
Yeah.
That is such a mismatch. It's not even fair. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more basketball, but this can be more local with the Texas Legends next.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
To finish today up, we're going to go local. We got the Texas Legends here in Frisco, who we actually interviewed a head coach, McKinnon, yesterday with Dwayne Price.
That'll be up on the site a little bit later today.
But just quickly, they had a 4-game road trip. They went 3-1, and they had a chance at getting the other win. They lost by 1 on free throws right at the end of the game against the Agua Caliente Clippers. I love some of the names in the G League. It's not the D League anymore, in the G League, now that it's owned by Gatorade. But I think this
means we're going to be hearing he's the OG
The reason we want to talk about the Legends is because there's a lot of names on this team that could end up being on this Mavericks team before the end of the season.
And speaking of Mavericks, there is a little bit of news coming out of the Mavericks. They've released a few players.
Yes, Gian Clavel actually got traded. They brought in, or he actually got waived, basically. And they're bringing in, because he was on a contract, a 2-way contract, where they had to make a decision at some point. They brought in a guy named Cleveland, who's going to probably end up on the Mavericks into the bench roster until they get Curry back. And once Curry comes back, he'll come back down to the Texas Legends. He's a really good player. He's been one of the best players in the G or D League for the last couple of years. And also, the Legends, they're coming home, but they're actually going to lose several players because those players are going to be going to play with the USA player pool. I believe Sloan is going to be going and Motley as well. That could be a concern going forward for this team because they cannot lose scorers. They are not a team that's playing a whole lot of defense right now, and their Coach McKinnon is running them through defensive drills right now because they have really struggled to defend anybody. They're scoring a lot. But now you lose 2 or 3 of those great scorers. Clavel was scoring a bunch at the beginning of the season. And then you had Motley scoring a bunch, Dentman scoring a bunch, and Sloan. You're going to lose 2 or 3 of those 4 or 5 players, their top scorers. Now you got to depend on guys who weren't scoring a lot, come into the starting lineup and continue to score. I don't think they can count on that. They've got to count on their defense stepping up if they want to continue winning games. Because it's not going to be getting any easier for them.
No, you're right. And
luckily, they're at home for this stretch, though.
And that's what we heard from McKinnon. That's also what we've been noticing when it comes to practice. That this team is, like you said, getting run through the ringer when it comes to defensive drills. They're getting very pushed to the point where it is getting a little chippy. But that is to be expected when you're getting pushed in a category or a part of your game that you're not the best at.
Yeah.
That's good. You know, even a little bit of infighting isn't bad because that frustration needs to come out.
Yeah, it needs to come out, I believe, tomorrow night against, who are they playing?
Someone.
It was the Warriors. G League team.
Yeah. The Warriors.
Oklahoma City's G League team. Then they play the Warriors G League team. So it's not going to get easier because I'm sure those two teams are stacked based on their.
But you know,
NBA
a good
teams.
coach like McKinnon is doing is that you get your team angry.
Yeah.
You go to practice and you get them mad even at each other. You get them mad and you get it to the point where
Take
it's
out
almost
that frustration when they get into those games.
So what you do is you go up and you go, you know what? I know you guys are mad. And you're looking across and there's guys in here that you maybe blame it for stuff and that maybe you have some angst against. Take that and give it to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Show them what you can do on defense. Show them that anger, that passion that you've been showing.
Show them that you can keep a team under 110 points because they're really struggling to defend anybody. And this is typical of the G League, D League in the history of developmental basketball is that it's like AAU. These kids want to come out and show that they can score, they can pass.
Because team players at the G League do not get called up.
They're not working on they're not looking to work on the rebounding, to work on their defense, to work on the little fundamental pieces of the game that
at least in their mind they don't think
create a better team. They're looking to prove themselves individually so that they can get that call up, that two-way contract with the Mavericks. I think he's doing the right thing. I think working on defense, making them mad, getting them to come out and be aggressive defensively as well as offensively because they're going to need to score still. I think that can only get better as the season goes along. They're going to have talent on that team because the Mavericks are going to be filling themselves with as much talent as possible as this season goes on because they want to get a look at as many young, talented players as they possibly can. This is not a wash team for the Mavericks.
No.
They need to be using this team effectively to supply them with talent during the season. The biggest concern is if the Mavericks start having injuries, and that happens with younger teams. You start having injuries
and
with
older
some of these younger
teams.
and older teams, and they've got a bad mix of both, is that you end up having to pull these players up, and it's not bad for the Mavericks. Great for the Mavericks because those guys get an opportunity to show what they have. But it's bad for the Legends because then you leave them with a lot less talent and they will struggle during the season. You like to see your local basketball team win games, but it's tough when it's a developmental team.
The issue that you're going to go through is right now McKinnon is walking a knife's edge. You get these guys so amped up, they're either going to do really well or they're going to go out and do some stupid stuff.
Yeah, they'll
like go and foul. No, I don't mean that. They'll go and foul someone too hard, get kicked out. They'll start teching. They'll start, they'll argue with the coach. They'll get back. I mean, it is a fine line that you walk.
Yes.
Because if they go too far to one side, you might have to bench them because they're being belligerent.
We find that coaching is always a very fine line, and it's a challenging thing to do, especially when you're talking about doing it in a developmental
because
situation.
what happens is if you get some of these guys that don't do well in those situations, they're going to shut down on you.
Yeah.
So I think I have all the confidence in the world. We met him yesterday. We had a big sit-down interview that we will have up on Unified Frisco again, unifiedfrisco.com today. I have all the confidence in the world. The guy seems to know what he's doing. He's been in it for a long time.
Well, and I know
how to develop.
He worked under Matt Doherty just like I worked under Matt Doherty. I think we're pretty equal there. So I know that he has the skill and the knowledge to coach these guys. Mm-hmm. The question is walking that fine line, because if you think about Kentucky, Duke, they're walking that fine line too because they want to build programs, they want to build teams, but the one and done forces them to say, I want the best talent, but they're only going to be here for a year. And that is basically the same situation that these developmental coaches have. It's hard to build a program when these guys are in and out, in and out. And he's doing the best with what he's got. He's got a lot of talented players, and I think they're going to win a lot of games this year. I'm curious to see what of that talent ends up with the Mavericks by the end of the season. I think, we're going to get a good look at some of these players, especially Motley, Ashley, and Sloan before the end of the year with the Dallas Mavericks.
So when we come back on Monday, we will be talking about everything that has happened over the weekend. So from your weekend to ours, when it comes to sports, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
And this is Off the Bench.